Hello friends, how are you? Hope you are doing well. I'm Tanya Rose Jacob. In this video, let's discuss about the Streptococcus pyogenes, its epidemiology, laboratory diagnosis, and treatment. For getting an idea about the virulence factors and clinical manifestations, friends, you just watch my previous video. First, epidemiology. Humans are the natural reservoir for the group A Streptococcus, and the infections caused by this bacteria are communicable and affect all age groups. But the infections are not common in neonates. Why? It's because of the presence of maternal antibody, which are protective in nature. The lab diagnosis of suppurative and non-suppurative complications are different. First, let's discuss about the laboratory diagnosis of suppurative complications. First, we should collect the specimen, right? What specimen we will collect? Okay, let's think. We know the Streptococcus pyogene can cause pharyngitis, so we can take throat swab. Streptococcus pyogenes can cause cellulitis also, so we can take pus swab and exudate. And we know one more thing, this bacteria can cause bacteremia, that is the presence of bacteria in the blood, so we can take the blood. Now we have collected the specimen, then we should transport the specimen, right? How we will transport? We have Pike's transport for that. How you will remember this name? Strep, Pike. Strep and Pike. Okay, we have Pike transport for that. This transport medium is blood agar with crystal violet and sodium azide. The one thing that we should remember here is we should transport the specimen immediately after the collection. And next step is direct smear microscopy under the microscope. On gram staining, what we will observe? We can see gram-positive cocci arranged in short chains. Okay, you can see the gram-positive cocci which are arranged in short chains. But this method is not useful for the specimens like throat swab because this bacteria is a normal flora of the throat. This method is well accepted for the pus specimens. Next, let's see the culture. How we will culture. So the Streptococcus pyogene is fastidious. So it need enriched media like blood, serum or carbohydrate. In blood agar, colonies are small, circular and pinpoint and show wide zone of beta hemolysis. You can see over here in this diagram. I told you that the blood, serum, carbohydrate are enriched medias. In liquid media, you can see the granular turbidity with the powdery deposit. The selective media we can use here is the first one is crystal violet blood agar. Here what the crystal violet will do is it inhibit the growth of staphylococcus and other bacteria. The second selective media is PNF media. This medium composed of horse blood agar with polymyxin B, neomycin and fusidic acid. Two selective medias, first one crystal violet blood agar, second one PNF media. In hanging drop method, to check the motility reveals that it is a non-motile. Now we discussed about the culture. Now let's go to the biochemical test for the identification. First one is catalase test. I hope you guys are remembering one thing. The staphylococcus is a catalase positive, then the streptococcus will be catalase negative. So streptococcus is catalase negative and staphylococcus is catalase positive. So it is a method by which we can differentiate streptococci and staphylococci. And the second biochemical test for identification is bacitracin sensitivity testing. Group A streptococci is sensitive to the bacitracin, whereas streptococcus agalactiae is resistant to the bacitracin. Now the other method is PYR test. It is positive for the group A streptococci, and one thing is the Streptococcus pyogenes is not able to ferment the ribose, and group A streptococci can be rapidly identified using the fluorescent antibody technique. I want to ask you one thing. Are you remembering the Lancefield classification that we already discussed in our previous video? Lancefield grouping, which is based on the C carbohydrate, have role in the biochemical test for the identification of this bacteria. For the antigen detection, we will do the ELISA and the agglutination test. Molecular method include the DNA probe and the nucleic acid amplification. Now let's go to the laboratory diagnosis of the non-suppurative complications. We know the non-suppurative complication is different from the suppurative complication. The non-suppurative complication is because of the molecular mimicry by the streptococcal antigen. These things we already discussed in our video that we did already about the clinical manifestations. For example, if M protein is similar to the M protein of the bacteria is similar to the myocardium. So the M protein can affect our heart because it mimics the myocardium. The lab diagnosis of the acute rheumatic fever, which is one of the non-suppurative complication, is by the ASO titer. The people having the acute rheumatic fever have high ASO titer than the people having just the streptococcal infection. The people having only the streptococcal infection. The people with acute rheumatic fever have the high ASO titer when compared to the people with just streptococcal infection. ASO titer of 200 unit or more is indicative of the prior streptococcal infection. ASO titer is elevated in most of the streptococcal infection except pyoderma and PSGN, post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. Two exceptions are here, pyoderma and post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. It's how we diagnose the acute rheumatic fever. Now let's see how is the lab diagnosis or how we will diagnose the pyoderma and PSGN, post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. It is by the anti-DNase B antibodies. Titer of more than 300 to 350 units per milliliter is diagnostic of PSGN and pyoderma. Other than these, you can observe the elevated levels of antibodies like anti-hyaluronidase antibody and anti-streptokinase antibody. Now let's discuss about the treatment of this infection. Can you guess which antibiotics can be used here? Penicillin is the drug of choice for the pharyngeal and other suppurative complications. Actually, the resistance to the penicillin is not reported yet. Still, the penicillin treatment can be a failure due to the non-compliance. That is, if you discontinue the treatment before 10 days of full course of oral penicillin V. The second condition is when the penicillin treatment can be a failure is when beta-lactamase is produced by some normal throat flora like Moraxella. Suppose if there is any patient resistant to the penicillin is there, what we will do is we give macrolide such as the erythromycin. And the resistance to the macrolide is common, and the separate recommended treatment for each clinical condition is given here. I think this one is more than enough. So but if you want, you can go through this table. And next, let's discuss about the prophylaxis. Prophylaxis, it's the long-term maintenance therapy with penicillin. It is required for the children who develop early signs of rheumatic fever. It prevents the streptococcal reinfection and the further damage to the heart. It's all about today's video. If you like my video, please don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you for watching.